Hello, this is Laura from Seed Yoga Therapy. Welcome to this channel where I share meditations and talks on the intersections of yoga and mental health and yoga therapy. So thanks for being here. So in the next few weeks, I'm going to share little brief videos on the 4 pillars of yoga therapy. And these are the foundations of the yoga therapy that I do, which is a distillation of the brilliant and wise teachings that I've had the privilege and blessing to learn from my teachers for the last 20 years. So the 4 pillars are honoring the nervous system, cultivating discipline, anchoring into the body and breath, and practicing mindfulness and meditation. So as a mental health therapist, my training has kept me in the realm of the mind. And I have found that people can understand where their suffering comes from intellectually, but it didn't necessarily change their experience in the world. So in the work that I've done with my own teachers and in my own healing, I have found that focusing a bit more upstream can address some of these roots of suffering. And this includes understanding that everything we do happens in the nervous system. So today we're going to focus on honoring the nervous system. And the nervous system is wired to protect us no matter what. So all the thoughts, the behaviors we have, even if we don't think they serve us, they are an effort to keep us alive. And they have served us at some point, even if they might not anymore. So when we can honor and respect the nervous system, we can work with it instead of fighting against it. And we can start to see that it's not personal, it's physiological. And ultimately, our minds can never win a fight with the nervous system. The nervous system will always win. There's many reasons why I love working with the nervous system, and just to name a few are, it makes it a little bit less personal. So like I just said, it's physiological. There's not something inherently wrong with me or you or anybody when we go into a place of contraction or defensiveness. It's the way that the nervous system is wired to keep us safe. Even if it doesn't feel that way. So it takes that personal piece out of it, that I'm doing something wrong or there's something wrong with me, and it makes it a little more objective of like, oh, this is my nervous system responding to this situation that's creating some discomfort inside of me. It also uses the body to support healing instead of just the mind. So a lot of times we can get into this kind of battle between the mind of, the mind saying there's something wrong, and then the mind is simultaneously saying there's nothing wrong, look around, it's okay, it's no problem. But when the mind starts fighting with the mind, a lot of times it doesn't go anywhere except for fighting. And so the trigger is saying it's not safe, and then the prefrontal cortex, the rational part of the mind, is saying there's nothing wrong, nothing's happening. And that using the mind to work with the mind can sometimes just cause some conflict. And then finally, when we work with the nervous system, there's this broader understanding of the wisdom of the responses, even if they aren't comfortable. And when we can tune into that wisdom of the nervous system, it can actually increase compassion, and it can start to shift the nervous system in a way so it doesn't have to be so kind of rigidly in that protective mode. So in yoga therapy sessions that I do with folks, we explore your nervous system in depth so you can understand how you're uniquely wired, because everybody is wired in a very different and unique way. But today I'm just going to share a practice that may support you to access the safe, peaceful, easeful aspect of the nervous system, which we all have access to in some way. But first, let's talk a little bit about how the nervous system works. So the nervous system is vast and endlessly complicated. And so I'm just going to share a tiny little bit of information as I understand it that may support you in your own process. So first, see if you can remember a time where you felt just completely at ease. So this could be when you're with a particular person you really love. It can be a place in nature that feels very comforting to you. It can be when you're with a pet or a beloved animal. It can be your spiritual practice. So this can help us access that part of our nervous system that has kind of a general sense of okayness. And again, we all have access to this, but it can feel fleeting. And so when we remember these moments, we can help to start build the capacity of our nervous system to remember and build on those moments. And there's a meditation that I'll share in the description that you can go a little more in depth into exploring that in an embodied way. In general, our first line of defense of the nervous system when something feels threatening is to move into fight or flight. And this is actually a really brilliant response, because if the nervous system believes it can run or fight this threat off, that's really useful for survival. So the nervous system doesn't care if the threat is real or not. So if I'm being chased by a lion, or if I'm chasing a bus because I'm going to be late for work, the nervous system doesn't have that discernment of, if I miss the bus, I'll be okay. But if I don't outrun this tiger, I might not be okay. It just says something is wrong and I need to run or I need to fight. And the next line of defense after that is the freeze response. And if it's determined that it seems that I can't outrun this threat or I can't fight this threat off, then the option is to freeze in hopes that the threat will move away on its own, because I can't fight or run. And this is also a really brilliant response, because if I play dead or I freeze and I'm not that interesting to whatever that threat is, I might actually survive something. So these are all really brilliant responses to threats. And just to give an example, so let's say I have a conflict with a coworker. So one response is I get mad and I blame them for not getting their work done, or I get mad and I blame myself for not being a good colleague or not getting my work done. And so that's a fight response. And so I can fight with others. I can also fight with myself. And so the nervous system can fight in either direction. Another option is maybe I have this conflict with my coworker and I just walk away and I go to a coffee shop and I get a cookie. So this is a flight response, right? So I'm gonna just leave the situation and not deal with it. And hopefully it'll just go away on its own. And the third option, which can look similar to a fight response, but the energy inside might feel really different. And so I could shut down, stop talking, go home, and just collapse on the couch in despair. And that's more of a freeze response. And that can come with a sense of sort of hopelessness and despair. Whereas the flight response is, I got to get out of here as fast as I can. Where a freeze kind of has so everybody's nervous system is different, but a freeze response can have more of a heaviness and a collapse to it, whereas a flight response has more action and movement to it. Now, as I've gone through these different scenarios, maybe you've done all of these responses at different times. I certainly have. And we may have one we rely on more than others. So none of these responses are good or bad or right or wrong. They're just different ways that we've been both wired and conditioned to respond to different threats. So just the simple fact that you know that you're in a fight, flight, or freeze response can be useful to giving yourself time to take care of that response. Because we all need different things in order to honor our unique nervous system. So when I'm in a state of calm or ease or steadiness or peacefulness, there's so many words that can describe this, and so I would really encourage you to find your words. It can be useful to reflect on these different states. So when you're in a fight response, what helps? What helps you? Is it doing something physical like going for a walk or going for a run? Is it talking to a trusted friend? When you're in a flight response, you just want to run away and get away as fast as you can. What helps you? Is it taking a break by yourself? Is it journaling? And then when you're in that freeze response, what helps? Is it cuddling with your pet? Is it just getting warm, putting a blanket on? And then also, when you're not in that place of fight, flight, or freeze, reflect on the ways you can support yourself when you go into them next, while also paying attention to these small and big fluctuations in the nervous system. So these states are constantly happening. It's not like we just experience a big threat and we go into a big fight or flight response or a big freeze. You can notice throughout your day, you might hear something and there's like a little of an alertness that might be a very small kind of fight flight response, but subtle. Or you might find that the longer you talk with somebody that feels kind of a draining conversation, you get a little more kind of frozen and shut down as the conversation continues. But it's not debilitating. It's just these little moments. And so I think of the nervous system kind of going like this throughout the day. It's constantly sort of attuning to other nervous systems, the environment, our internal state, our external state, and it's responding in different ways. And so just starting to pay attention to how your nervous system is moving throughout the day can be really interesting. And in that, you can support these responses quicker because you're able to catch them sooner. So when you notice, oh, I heard that sound, I wasn't sure what it was, and I'm a little more alert now, you can tune into that and notice that, rather than when it gets really, really big and it can feel overwhelming. You can also observe when the nervous system is calm and easeful. And a lot of times this particular state tends to get ignored because it isn't screaming, it isn't yelling at you. And so really taking time to cultivate those moments and to notice, this is where mindfulness comes in, to observe when you're in the state of steadiness or ease can help foster even more of those moments and can help the ability to have that capacity to hold the other nervous system states of fight, flight, or freeze. And through that, you can begin to become friends with your nervous system instead of being at war with it. So that's just a quick introduction to honoring the nervous system. There's some more resources in the description, and as well as a meditation on a refuge meditation that you can come to support kind of that steadiness of the nervous system. And then I'll also share a blog post on the nervous system as well, and a couple other resources. So thank you so much for watching, and thanks for being here.